Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Hager. This box says BB1199, 4.5 by 6 and a 32D NRP. I would know it as a WT BB1199, 4.5 by 6, 32D NRP, because it's a wide throw hinge. It's not often that I deal with the good stuff, meaning someone who said cost is secondary, I need a hinge that's going to meet these requirements and be really capable of handling what it's going to be asked to handle. And what I mean by that is this client wanted non-ferrous. This client needs a wide throw. Okay, how heavy of a door will it hang was the question. Wide throw hinges are not load rated. They're not. Not that I'm aware of. Not that I've ever found or seen. Well, my door is probably 150 pounds. What do you think I should do? Well, I think you should use a heavyweight hinge, and that's where this 1199 comes in. It's 190 thousandths leaf thickness. That will not, and the reason for that is not only is it about 40% thicker material than a standard weight, but the heavyweights will give you 2 additional bearing packets where you will then have 4 bearing packets installed. Okay, so that really makes it a substantial hinge in terms of the weight. I will say up front that I'm less than enamored with the fit and finish of this hinge. This should not have a mark on it at all. The treatment to the edge is marginally suspect in terms of being completely uniform. I am going to argue that this mark here is from the tool by which they will give the brushed finish staying too long and being too heavy and giving a telltale sign of a run out on the edge. Same condition down here, and I'm not thrilled with the crotch of the hinge either. This is something I've seen from Hager in the past, and it's been a problem in the past. And, you know, Hager, I love you guys, and we've been doing business together for a very long time. My family since the 1970s, and I'll be honest, your name is Hager Hinge, and that's what you guys are and have been since the mid-19th century, I understand. I expect better, is the bottom line. I expect a lot better. You're not importing this hinge. I expect better. I want better. The backside I'm not so concerned with. Most, not all, but most manufacturers do not finish the backside. So no points taken off for that. That should be a lot cleaner hinge. Let's look at another one. I very rarely will, if I don't have anything good to say, I won't say it at all, but you know, I need to advocate for the manufacturer. And I need to do so. Well, that's interesting. The next hinge is really not much better. You've got some heavy run out here. I will say this to you as the prospective customer. The name Hager Hinge is synonymous with hinges because that is their namesake. Be mindful that, to me personally, I would not find this incredibly acceptable. The way that the finish is on the inside of there, that needs to be done better. And these are going to go to the client, but I'm going to document this and send it to the factory and put them on notice that these hinges are likely going to be rejected as a result of that. Let's move forward. Let's talk about what this hinge is. Shortcomings of final fit and finish aside, which may not utterly disqualify it from use. Okay. This is a WT. That's what means wide throw. Whether or not Hager calls it a WT in front of the BB because it's 4.5 by 6, to me is irrelevant. If it's a 4.5 by 6, you know it's a wide throw. I guess what's the point in saying it twice? I do kind of like to be able to look at WT hinges in the catalog because it will then show me only those. I don't want to see the 4x4s. I don't want to see the 4.5s. I don't want to see the 4.5x4s. I don't want to see the 5x5s. You get the point. I just want to see the wide throws. So that's why I like calling it that way. The point is, it's a wide throw. It's a WT. That means it's shorter than it is wide. Okay? This is a 4.5x6. It's incredibly important to understand that the height is the first dimension. It's the opposite of how a door runs. A door would be the width first. Well, a hinge is the height first. Why is that important? Well, many years ago, I did a job at the University of Chicago in the Chicago campus. And the project called out for 5x4.5. Well, there were 20 doors and 1 or 2 of them were 4.0s. And good standard practice for a 4-foot door, and it was 16 gauge, would definitely be a 5x4.5. Well, what did I supply? I supplied doors and frames that were 4.5 prep. And then I supplied hinges that were 4.5x5. No, I ordered the hinges the right way because all I did was copy and paste. I didn't realize it, that at a very early stage in my career that a 5x4.5 was going to be height first. So my logic was, oh, okay, you want a 5x4.5. Okay, so no problem. We're doing 4.5-inch hinges. You want them 5-inch for some reason, not a problem. And that's why you need to understand, because not every hinge is square. This hinge isn't square, it's rectangular. And you can have wide throw, or you can have, very commonly seen in the aluminum storefront industry, would be a 4.5x4. So why is that nice? Well, it's nice because a lot of those doors swing out. You want to bring that vertical axis of pivoting as close to the face of the door as the conditions will permit. Why? Less projecting hardware. Not that you would really ever notice it, but if you've ever walked through a tight corridor, every 1/4 inch that those hinge barrels are hanging off the face of the door, it's more of an obstacle. I've walked past those and I've smacked my watch on that kind of stuff in the past. And when you start to really recognize a 4.5x4.5 where that knuckle hangs off, and then you think to yourself, well, it's a knockdown drywall frame over a partition wall. There's no obstacle from preventing that door to go 180 degrees. Why not use a 4.5x4? It'll suck that barrel back, giving you a more elegant installation. Well, this is the opposite, where you have to move that vertical axis of pivoting out. Because why? Well, you probably got to get around something. So this is literally going to be 3.25 inch greater shifted out for the vertical axis of pivoting versus a 4.5x4.5. So 4.5x4.5 versus a 4.5x6, that's 1.5 inches width. Well, that's when the hinge is laid open wide. That's 1.5 inches, so it really results in a 3/4 inch. The common scenario for that will be where you have unusually thick casing on a door, where you need to get out around, or you've got an application where you have a 8-inch block wall, 8 3/4 block with a 5 3/4 frame, and you want to take your door and swing it out around. So you've got a 5 3/4 frame, you got an 8 3/4 situation, and depending on how your math and where the frame is actually placed, you might just simply say, listen, it's a real experience. This is a door out to the play lot of a child care facility. We want to take that door and we want to get it all the way open. We're going to hold it open against the wall with an automatic holder. Great. But the door still needs to physically swing. That's where you're going to use a wide throw. You could also use a wide throw hinge, and you don't really see, you do kind of see it when you have an inset that's deeper into the frame than standard. A standard inset on a hollow metal door and frame is like 3/32 of an inch, okay? Whatever it is, 96 thousandths. Well, imagine if that dimension was 1 inch. Well, you wouldn't make a hollow metal frame with a deeper inset, even though you might for whatever reason, to accommodate what you're doing on the wall, maybe treatment to the wall, etc. But you'll sure go in historical construction, and you will see the original state capitol building of the state of Iowa. You know, when you're dealing with, or here in Florida, you know, home construction 100 years ago, when there wasn't steel, those, a 3-story house, they exist. Those walls are 18-inch thick to carry the weight of everything above. Same thing with this state capitol building in wherever University of Iowa is. I'm drawing about Iowa City. So very thick walls, because it's a 2-story building and, you know, dome capitol scenario. These doors are literally in 18-inch deep jambs in the center of these 18-inch walls. They have wide throw hinges. That must be, I don't remember, but they must be, you know, 18-inch wide hinges, because they can take those beautiful doors and swing them all the way out around. So that would be a scenario where you'd see those as well. Or maybe you've got an exterior door with jamb extensions. Maybe you need a wide throw raised barrel, you know, whatever the case might be. A really cool scenario where I've seen them is when you have a 6-foot wide opening in a older home, like 100 years ago, World War I, between 2 large rooms. Today, in today's parlance, it would be a dining room, and then it would be the TV room, that kind of thing. But back then, it was probably a sitting area and then a formal dining area. 4 18-inch doors. Take those 2, fold them out. Take all of that, fold it out against the wall. And if you do the math of all that, you'll need a wide throw hinge at some point. There's a business or a property, or maybe a condo building in Upper Manhattan, not Upper Manhattan, but about 59th Street, a few blocks south of Central Park. They had 4 doors. Stack one, stack the other, stack the other, stack them all against the wall. Standard hinge, wide throw, big wide throw, super wide throw. And it was really cool because you're so compressed for space in that city. Every square inch is accounted for, that they need to take deliveries. Well, they can't swing these doors out into the sidewalk, which is what it was. But they could just stack them out that way. Anyway, moving forward. That's your WT. Your BB means ball bearing. You'll have 4 bearing packets when it comes to a heavyweight hinge. The 1199, all of that conspires to mean, well, it means 5-knuckle. It certainly means that. You can see why it's a 5-knuckle hinge. It means that the hinge is going to be heavyweight. This should be 180 thousandths. My caliper tells me, and it rocks on there, and it really shouldn't rock. My caliper should not rock on that hinge. It tells me it's 179 thousandths, so 100 right there. It means that it is non-ferrous. The 9 in the part number, the first 9 means non-ferrous. The second 9 means heavyweight, which means you wouldn't order a WTBB1199 and then expect, you know, a satin chrome plating. If you do a finish that is stainless, either satin or polished, it'll be stainless base material. That's what that's going to be. If you want to do polished brass, bronze, oil rubbed, it'll be a bronze base material. Okay, so be mindful of that. They're not going to change the part number to refer to the base material changing. The finish is telling you what the base material is, meaning they would never do polished brass over a stainless base material. So if you order a non-ferrous heavyweight 5-knuckle hinge, ball bearing, BB1199, and you order it polished brass, it's going to be made of brass. 4.5 by 6, well, we talked about that at length. Other wide throw variations that you're going to be able to get from Hager will certainly be a good variety of what they are. Let's pull up the catalog. Okay, so the wide throw hinges, other sizes, and I'm pulling up the price book so I can just get to where all of that is neatly kept. A lot of the time the price list is the most elegant way to look at something because it's condensed. Okay, so wide throws. In a 4.5 tall, you're going to go five. You're going to go 5-inch, 6-inch, 7-inch, 8-inch. In a 5-inch tall, you're going to go 6-inch, 7-inch, 8-inch. That's it. That's all. Can other sizes technically be done? They can be. I quoted someone some 6x12s one time. It was $1,000 a hinge, so it's not realistic, but that's what you're dealing with. Now you can also do from Hager, and that's just in a BB1199. You get into a wide throw standard weight steel base or even stainless steel base. You're going to be looking at 3.5 tall, 5-inch, 6-inch, 5-inch or 6-inch, and a 3.5. 4-inch tall, you'll go 5, 6, and 7 wide. 4.5, you'll go 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then on a 5-inch, you'll go 6, 7, and 8 wide. So lots of options in that regard. Now, this hinge also has the non-removable pin feature to it. That is a drilled and tapped hole in the barrel of the hinge where that set screw has been installed. And that means, and I've tried to do it, this barrel has a groove cut in it right at the right height where that set screw is. So that when you seat the pin and you tighten the set screw goes into that groove, all but eliminating the possibility of driving it out. Like I said, I've tried. I got locked out of my own office. I'm on the shop side of my office, and there were 2 doors going into the office, here and then here. Both of them are locked. I couldn't drive that non-removable pin out. I had to call my partner and say, bring the key. I'm done trying to get in. I'm gonna break the hinge if I do it anymore. So that's a security feature. This client literally has, it's not a child care facility, but it's that scenario where he wants to open these doors and fold them back because of that 5 3/4 jamb positioned on an 8-inch cement block, a CMU, 8-inch. I said 8 3/4 earlier. It's 8-inch, of course. 8 3/4 would be the jam depth you use to wrap that wall. And they want to be able to hold that back, but the doors are exterior outswing. So the position of where they drill that set screw that you see here, well, when that door is closed, you can't get to it. You can see it, but you can't get your tool to it. Okay. There are other options when it comes to security stuff. There would be what's called the security stud, and it's basically the diameter of a nickel, but about maybe 3/8 thick or whatever it really is. Maybe a 1/4 inch. Set right in here somewhere. There's a hole drilled over here so that when those 2 leaves are brought together, you can drive that pin out all you want. You still won't separate them because that stud is sitting in that hole in the other leaf. Some people even do both, although that's very rare, but I have sold NRP with a security stud. Being Hager, they ought to be able to do, well, I don't know that they can do decorative tips on this, even though they will list them, like an acorn, a ball tip, a steeple tip, an urn tip. This is what's called a button tip. If you use your imagination, you can see why we'd call it a button tip. It looked like the button on your coat. Okay. It's going to include screws. This is giving us all machine and half wood screws. Be clear with us what you want in terms of screws, because if you're, for some reason, if you're doing an application where you need all wood screws, you'll have to specify that in the comment field when you order it, because you are sure not going to get enough wood screws if you don't specify them. So AWS, all wood screw, AMS, all metal screw, half metal, half machine screw, however you want to call it, that'd be great. There's a link below this video as well to the template that will give you the location of those holes for the screws that we're talking about. This is the template pattern. It's called template. It's been a standard in the industry for probably 50 years. The half moon, some people will call it. It's just where these are located, referenced from the leaf end. And that template will show you where those are located. Also refers to other hinge part numbers from Hager, and that will help you, meaning it's a generic document. It will satisfy the condition of those other hinge types, those other part numbers that are there. There's also a link to the product catalog, and that will allow you to look at the BB1199s, their sister products that go along with it, and not only standard hinges, but of course wide throw as well. Certainly worth a look through. And Hager being a comprehensive provider of hinges, they get into a lot more hinges than a lot more exotic hinges than just a wide throw heavyweight solid stainless hinge. I had someone call for a heavyweight non-ferrous full surface hinge, really unusual. Anchor hinges, those are even less common. I rarely see those. I may have only sold 2 of those in my entire career. And very neat stuff when it comes to hinges. They got a good guy over in technical support there. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Hager products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. The name Hager, again, is synonymous with hinges, but it's also synonymous with practically everything else for the door and frame, except the door and frame itself. Hinges, door closers, lock sets, exit devices, weather stripping, trim and auxiliary hardware, bypass hardware, of course, Roton hinges, auxiliary items like filler plates. They do a full complement of electrified hardware. They have a really cool multiplex system of their own keyway, where it is a very unique take on the bringing together of both interchangeable and conventional core cylinder types on a single project. That's a really cool thing. They're H1, H2, H3 keyway. They do. It looks like a small format interchangeable core key blank that has a shoulder stop on it. It looks like a tip stop, but it's a shoulder stop key, but you would think it's an interchangeable core blank. Anyway, any questions on the BB1199, 4.5x6, or any other Hager product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.